Okay, we want to welcome everyone to a very special edition of the Adam Roberts podcast known as What is Your Story, where we interview some of the business world's best business minds and successful entrepreneurs that you can possibly imagine, especially in Nebraska. And we're really excited today because we have an incredible guest with us, a long-time friend of mine. I've known for a long time through our families and mutual relationships. And when we talk about someone who knows business inside and out, marketing, branding, advertising, sales, all the aspects, team management, there's nobody better than this person sitting next to me today. So I'm very excited to introduce to you one of the titans of the rent-to-own business, the one and only Mr. Lynn Leach. Great to have you, sir.
Great to be here.
Fantastic.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, we're so excited. And Lynn is not only the owner of one of Nebraska's largest retail chains, but also truly an amazing guy. And I've always looked up to you, and as I know many of others people have as well. I was honored to know your dad, growing up, Gene Leach, who was a role model of mine as a kid. I think a role model to a lot of people. And really someone that all of us in the Roberts family admired. What values, I guess, did he teach you? Let's start from there. That maybe you instilled into Ace Rent-to-Own now and carried forward.
One of the phrases that he taught me, and if he was still here, he'd be repeating it still today. The value of honors, codes, bonds, and ethics. That no matter what you do in business, there's many things that can be taken from you that are no fault of yours. Absolutely. You can be in a terrible car accident, lose your health, lose your family, lose everything. But the one thing you've got complete control over is your integrity, and only you can give that away. And so even when it was painful to do so, even when I would be tempted to do something that wasn't quite above board or wouldn't be right, I would have his words ringing in my ears: honors, codes, bonds, and ethics. Tell the truth, be fair with people, be honorable in the way you treat others. Make sure that you treat them as if they would want to be treated, the old golden rule. But above all else, simply do the right thing because it's the right thing.
Right. And that's obviously, it's for those of you out there, that's a lesson, because this is a gentleman who has lived by those principles, and look where it's gotten him. So that's pretty amazing. Can you share a bit about your journey in the world of rent-to-own? What inspired you to build it so vast, so many locations,
Sure.
expand it like you have?
Yeah, so it started out back as a college graduate. I got the opportunity to go out to California and learn the rent-to-own business from a company called Rent-to-Own Incorporated. Started out in San Diego learning how to be a store manager, then went to Visalia, and then went to Sacramento and managed a bigger store, then went to Visalia, California, which was their company headquarters. Learned purchasing and marketing there, and then came back and started my first store, still there at 25th and O here in Lincoln, back in 1982. So here we are 41 years later, and that store still stands, still is the rock that started it all.
Yeah.
And so it was 3 years running that store before we could afford to open a second location, and we went to Omaha, a store on Saddle Creek Road.
Okay.
And developed quite a little bit of borrowed money over the course of the first 4 stores, then decided to ease back on that and get some of that debt paid back. And once we had the debt paid off after store number 8, we never borrowed another nickel again.
Wow.
And so now have 23 stores, about to open number 24 in Blair, Nebraska here on December the 1st. But just one store at a time, growing on strength, not on weakness, growing on capital, not borrowed money. So our margins were so much stronger because we weren't paying 2 points over prime or working on a lot of speculation money, but working on money that we'd already earned.
Yeah.
And so where do we go from here? I'm not sure, but a few more stores are probably in the picture before I'm done and retired, and I've got a a great legacy to pass on. I've got a partner in the company now that owns 10%, that's 10 years younger than me, and he'd like to take over as our president, and I'll move to CEO and watch him go.
Great.
But for the next 2 or 3 years, I'll still be pumping away, doing what I've always doing what I love, and that is improving the quality of life for our clients.
Right.
And that's what we do. You know, most of our clients are middle and lower income folks that are really working hard just to make a living.
Yeah.
And they deserve something nice for their family. They deserve to have a nice TV, a nice living room set, a new high efficiency washer and dryer.
Yeah.
Because why shouldn't they?
You guys have that.
That's what we do.
Right.
But they're running the infrastructure of our communities.
Yeah.
They are our construction workers, our manufacturing workers, our police officers, our firefighters, right? And fixing our roads and you know, maintaining the infrastructure of our communities. Those are the very people we serve.
Right.
And it is a privilege to serve them. All they want is something nice for their money to get what they were told they would get.
Right.
Like they were told they would get it. And when we provide that, they're satisfied, and it's so fulfilling. Look, when somebody buys a brand new Cadillac that already has one,
Right.
that's a pretty cool day for them.
Sure.
I mean, right? Getting a new car is pretty neat.
Right.
But they already had a new car when they got the last one.
Right, yeah.
So it's not really changing anybody's life.
Exactly.
But when our truck backs up and we've had 2 children, one sleeping on a love seat, the other sleeping in a recliner, and our staff gets out and assembles a bunk bed with 2 nice new twin beds on it.
Right.
And the kids are running up hugging mom's leg saying, "Thanks for the nice bed, mom."
Right.
I mean, that just changed the absolute quality of life for that family right now.
Absolutely.
Or we unload a stove on Thanksgiving evening and they've been cooking in a microwave.
Oh my gosh.
And now they can make a turkey or a ham and have a real meal for Thanksgiving. It's changing the very structure of the quality of their life.
Right.
So it's super rewarding.
Yeah.
And because it's so rewarding, they're very grateful, and so it becomes this wonderful partnership back and forth. We call it the Ace Rent to Own family, and that's 2-part. Family is my staff, but the second part of the family is those clients.
Right.
Because without them, there's no family.
Right.
And so they consider themselves part of the family. And so instead of seeing us as someone that's trying to make money off of them, they see us as a long-term family member that's just trying to continue to do business with them.
Yeah.
Not one transaction, but 10 or 20 transactions over the next 10 or 20 years.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And that kind of goes along with your 3 values: the trust, respect, and friendship, which is unique. You don't see, you know, a lot of companies have core values, maybe, you know, customer service or whatever, but friendship, I mean, that's unique, you know, and I see that now in what you just described. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, so I mean, every time we interact with a client,
Yeah.
we're trying to earn their trust, and it has to start there because friendship is not happening without trust.
Right.
Think about that. Who
Right.
are the friends that you have in life?
Exactly.
If you can't trust them, they're not friends, right? And you have no interest in developing a friendship with them.
Exactly.
But also mutual respect.
Right.
And so it has to go both ways. If we expect to be respected in the way we sell, in the way we service, in the way we collect our accounts, then we have to show people respect. They deserve that.
Right.
And if you can show them those 2 things, show them that you're not trying to do anything that would harm them, not trying to profit in any way, shape, or form at their expense, but only trying to profit with them profiting along with you.
Yeah.
And then they can see that you are a friend. And instead of when you're phoning them to try to collect an account where they're apt to not pick up the phone because they are fearing that you're going to repossess something or you might speak down to them, they pick up the phone and tell you what hardship they're facing and ask for help. Because that's what you do with a friend, right?
Yeah.
You don't hide your hardships from a friend, you share them so that they can help you out of them.
That makes sense.
And so that's what we teach from day one.
Yeah.
We are not going to profit at the expense of our clients, but we're going to befriend them.
Yeah.
And we're going to tell them that our goal, and we expect it takes a few months, maybe even a few years in some people's case, to earn that friendship. But if we keep consistent in how we treat people, in how we respect them, and how much trust they can see in us because we're telling them the truth.
Yeah.
Eventually, we can end up with that friendship. And then when it comes time for them to get the next item, there's no thought process there. They go to their friends.
Yeah, they go to you.
And that's the beauty. And,
Right.
and so here I am 41 years later, and I spend more than half of my time in the stores. And so it is not uncommon to have somebody come up and not just want to shake my hand, but hug me and say, I've been shopping with you for 20 or 30 or 40 years.
Wow.
And we've grown up together.
Yeah.
Me as a businessman, them as a client, but together as family members, we've grown up. And so there's something incredibly rewarding. At my age now, 63, that's the best part, is those long-term relationships. And I don't have to worry about the profit margin or worry about the revenues when we have those relationships we've built, true friends.
Absolutely.
Then we know that they're going to continue to shop with us. And it's so rewarding for them to know they can shop with a friend, and for me to know that I can do business with a friend.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I think you talk about family, and it's funny because, you know, my dad, he worked for your dad, you know, and that's how he got through college, is working for you. And I think you've instilled that, you know, obviously to the customer, but it starts with your staff. It starts with your employees, which, you know, and instilling that in them so that they can carry that message forward. How do you find good people? I mean, you guys have good people. I've seen that, and it's impressive. I mean, and that started even with your dad. He hired my dad, you know, and it just carried on.
So I think the finding is important, but the developing, in my opinion, is even more important. How do we find them? We use Indeed.com. And so we have a workforce development director that finds them, sets up interviews for the store manager or the district manager or for myself or my partner Frank to interview them, and find them that way. Yeah. But most importantly then is, once we find them, what do we do then? Yeah. And I'll use one word that I think is the most important, maybe the most important word in business in all aspects, and that is love. That you have to love them, and they have to know that you love them, and they have to know what your mission is. They have to know, what are they doing here? Is it just about the money? Because if it is, you won't keep them. Right. And if your mission for them is to grow them, find out what they need out of life. I once met a very famous sales trainer named Zig Ziglar. Wrote an incredible book called See You at the Top. Yeah. And I got a chance to sit at lunch with him. And each of us that were at a lunch, we paid to be in this lunch with him, got to ask one question. And my question was, what's the single most important message in your business world, in your motivational speaking, in your own businesses, your sales career? Share with me the message that I need to take home. And his message was, if you can help enough people get what they want out of life, you'll never have to worry about getting what you want out of life. And so that's the philosophy we take in training staff, in developing staff. Find out what they want out of life. Yeah. What are they about? What are they trying to do? You know, what do they want for their family? Right. Because there's things out there they all want. Yeah. And it's varying things. For some people, it is not extreme wealth. It's not. You know, and that is a distant second or third or fourth on their needs and wants list. But developing family, having time to be with their kids in sporting endeavors or in speech and drama and glee club and in the band or whatever, and supporting those children. For a lot of people, that's the most important thing and what they want out of life. And a career is to have the flexibility to go to the band concert or go to the football game, right, and see their kids perform. So we have to do that. We have to let them do that. Yeah. Because if whatever that 2 or 3 or 4 hours that we have to make sure they're off duty, they will pay back 20 times over if we allow that to happen. Right. But for some people, it is wealth. Yeah. And so we've got to show them, how do you make tremendous money? How do you go from starting with this company where you're making $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year, to where in a year or two you're making $80,000 or $100,000 a year? Yeah. How does that occur, and what do I need to accomplish? Right. What do I need to learn? What are the metrics that I need to accomplish to get that? Yeah. And then our job, my job, is to push them to get there. Yeah. And like any good coach, coaching isn't always just, sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
Sometimes coaching is to push them to
Right.
do their best. Sometimes people won't give their best without a coach pushing them.
Sure.
But if they know you're pushing them from a position of love,
Yeah.
always love, that's the one thing that is not variable. The love will always be there.
Yeah.
Never threaten their job. Never tell them do this or you're gone.
Right.
It's this or my way or the highway.
Yeah.
As soon as you do that, you've lost them because they're never going to believe you love them again.
Yeah.
But you actually do have to love them, and I know that sounds easy.
Yeah.
But it's not, because as you in business, as you know,
Yeah.
it's not everyone is honest.
Right.
And some people can really hurt your feelings.
It's true.
But you got to be willing to accept that some people are going to be dishonest and hurt your feelings, because for one of them, there's 20 that are the other way.
It's true.
That just want to be loved. They want to know that they matter. They want a handwritten birthday card, a handwritten anniversary card on the date of their anniversary, with a gift card for a restaurant showing, I took the time to show you I care because I do.
Right.
This comes from a place of love. And if you can show them things like that, man, they will keep pushing and they will keep fighting and they will find a way to get through the days that aren't so great.
Right.
And the parts of the job that they don't love all that much, they'll figure out a way to tolerate them.
Yeah.
Because the rest of it they do love, and they feel part of family, and they feel protected, and they feel loved, and they buy into the mission, and there's no stopping them.
That's huge. That is huge. I can't tell you how many times, even just in a sales situation where I'm sitting across the table from a potential client, and I just think to myself, regardless of whether I get this sale or not, I just need to love this person, and I'll even start praying, God, just help me to just show them that I love this person. And sometimes that's just telling them the truth and saying, you know what, you're not the best fit for us. You might be better served here. You might be better served there, or go do this. But I agree with that. It's about honesty. It's about, that's what true love is. And if you can be honest with them and tell them, hey, this is the best deal for you and for what you're trying to achieve and where you're going, absolutely, it's the best way to go. Tell us. I mean, it was been a great pleasure of ours to be as your payment processor for many years. I mean, it meant a lot to us to serve you during that time, and that was a lot of caramels I think we gave you too over those years. But
You sure did.
Tell us on the other side. So, like when you're working with vendors, what types of companies do you like to work with? How do you sort through that? And for a business owner that's trying to find the right vendors, the right companies to work with.
Well, I think the people that are running those companies, those vendors, matter.
Yeah.
Like everything else we've already talked about, the principles matter.
Right.
And so you've got to find a company that does show some interest and care about your well-being.
Sure.
As we came through COVID, we were an essential business as defined by the federal government because we sell refrigerators and freezers and service them, and computers for people to work from their home, televisions to stay updated on how things were going, especially in the early days of COVID when pretty much everything got shut down. Products were really, really hard to find. And so for those, there was one particular vendor that took care of us, held back product that he could have sold to somebody else on our word that we would pick up those trailers and furniture in the next few weeks, knowing full well that he could trust us to do it. But man, people like that took care of us, that's what you need to look for. Right. Do they care? And what are they about? But I mean, let's face it, price is price. I mean, so if they're not the best price, then give them a chance, show them what the best price is, and see if they can compete with that. And if they can, fine, buy from them. Sure. But at ACE, we talk about the circle and the circle of trust, and that is we, the family. And the vendors sit outside the circle of trust, so you can trust them to a point, but they also have interests of their own that may not serve your interests. Right. So be careful about being overly trusting. Vendors are in business for themselves. Yeah. So be careful to see what is real and respond to what is real to a point, and pay back those that have gone out of their way to do something special for you, to help you out. bring back that in the form of buying more things from them, those that have shown you that loyalty.
Absolutely. As a business owner, obviously there's tons of aspects of business. What would you say is your superpower? I mean, is it sales, marketing, advertising, accounting? I mean, what areas maybe comes naturally to you, but maybe other areas that you had to work on, that you had to learn over time that develop?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the superpower, if I only could pick one, I would probably pick that it is client relations.
Yeah.
If I can go past that, because we've talked quite a bit about that, we're really good at marketing. And we're really good at telling our story and showing people who we are. Social media, print, broadcast media is a kind of a thing of the past, but you can still get to them through streaming. You can get through digital, through geofencing and targeting and so on. That's the new wave. But tell your story. Don't be afraid to tell your story, because it's not just we have the best price. Because everybody's saying that. And pretty soon that sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 wah. And I mean, everybody says the same thing.
Right.
But what makes your business? What makes you different?
Yeah.
And if you can get across to the new client that once you step in this door, you're going to find a place that you'll enjoy doing business, that does make every effort to have the best price. And then when we're undersold, we make that guarantee. If you find a better deal or a better price at a competitor, we'll beat it. We'll beat it, but don't just focus on best price. Focus on everything that makes you great and tell that story, and we do that really, really well.
That friendship, that relationship,
And especially for new clients, it's hard for them to understand until they get in the door. But as soon as they do, somebody should be calling out to them. We have a 7-second rule. When somebody walks into our stores, we have to, even if we're with another client, call out to them in 7 seconds and let them know that we've seen them and that we'll be right with them, and that we're happy that they're in the store, and we'll be happy to get with them just as quick as possible. So immediately they can see someone that is friendly, someone with a kind look on their face, someone that's interested in helping them, and make the experience different. Because brick and mortar is tough these days. You've got to have a different experience. And I mean, so much of our business has transitioned from in the store footprints to buying online. And so we've had to get way better at that and have a website marketing, again, a website that speaks to people, that shows the products that they want, that's an easy way to order, is not a difficult thing where they get frustrated and hit exit. And then quick delivery, respond, we want to be back on the phone with them. If we're open, we want to be on the phone with them within the hour. If not, we tell them we'll be, first thing the next morning on the phone, finishing their order, making arrangements for delivery.
Absolutely.
So that marketing, and it doesn't all have to cost tons and tons of money. A lot of marketing today is guerrilla marketing, getting out with flyers, social media, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I mean, those things are very inexpensive, and you can get a lot of traction in those media for very little cost.
Absolutely. Can you share a moment, or maybe a time in your career that was defining for you, that launched you to make, had a major impact on your success?
Yes, the answer to your question. There was a time when I didn't understand. I saw my career, my business as a job, and when I'm off duty, and I want to hide from the business when I'm off duty. Sort of, I didn't love it like I needed to. I convinced myself I did, but my actions said different. And I recognized that. And even my wife, my kids recognized that. And so through a little self-inspection, I recognized that when you're in business, there is no such thing as being off duty. It's just not there. And if that's what you're after, you're not cut out to run your own business. And so at that point, and this goes back now, 30 years ago, about 10 years, 11 years in business by the time I actually realized I've got to be on duty 24/7. I got to love this, where I don't see an imposition, somebody calling me at 7:30 at night with I'm sick and I'm not coming in tomorrow, or I've got this problem in my family, and I would hang up the phone as a young businessman and say, can't I ever be off duty for a minute or two? Right? And instead of that, I changed my entire thought process and went, I'm going to love every part of this. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm going to embrace it, and I'm going to tell people 24/7, you need me, call me. You're never going to interrupt anything I'm doing. There is no such thing as a business interruption, right? Being bothered by somebody in business is not a thing. I started putting my cell phone on my business cards. So even clients could call, 24/7 if they chose to. And I would take the time to hear them out. And so it was that. And once I made that decision that I am all in on this, this is my life, this is my legacy, this is what I do, it's the very nature of me. And instead of just seeing it as a business, seeing it as a way to make a living, I saw it as what I do, who I am, and being able to teach that to others instead of being disrupted and being disappointed. Look at the good stuff, these relationships you're building, this incredible opportunity you have to love people, and most importantly, when you love them, get loved back. It's so rewarding. There is nothing that's interrupting me now. When somebody that is loving me back needs some love, make sure you're there to do that. And it was when I finally recognized that it's not personal and business. There's no such thing. It's intertwined. My personal life is my business life. My business life is my personal life. I wouldn't have been able to raise a family and do all the wonderful things that I've had the opportunity to do, have the blessings that I've had, if I didn't embrace the fact that these things intertwine, and I'm not pushing back on that, but I'm embracing that and loving every part of it.
That's tremendous, I mean, I could go a lot of different ways from there, but that's huge. And I guess tell me about, as a business owner, you've seen a lot of business owners. You've seen a lot of them succeed. You've seen a lot of them fail. Where do businesses, where can some business owners go wrong? What are some of the things, the pitfalls that they fall into?
There's a couple. So the first thing is, whatever business you're in, make sure that as early as you can afford to, that you're focusing on the real estate, on investing in the property that you're doing business in, whether that's a garage, owning the garage, or if it's a brick and mortar retail store, own that, or an office, own that. Too many people spend their entire career leasing whatever business or facilities that they're doing business out of. That is a huge mistake. Because even after you're done doing business, whether you've sold your business or whether the business you fold it up and hold a going out of business sale and go on with your life, you're always going to own that property, and that can be something that continues to support you all the way through retirement to death. If you have that personal property that you can lease to somebody else, that can provide an income to you past your ability to physically conduct business. That is very, very important. So I encourage those that are just focused on the actual business and not the real estate that it does business underneath. Don't do that. Get involved in finding a facility that you can own and start investing in that part of your business. The second thing I think is people try to diversify too much. Where I've seen other businessmen and women fail is that they try to do 17 different businesses. And they're not good at any of them. Really. I mean, they're average at all of them. Whereas if they just focused on the one or two things that they were really good at and put all of their energy in that, and instead of being mediocre at 17, be great at 2, they would be more fulfilled and probably make more money and have something that they can grow better when they focus on the one form of business or maybe a couple forms of business that they're excellent at. And be industry experts. I've had the good fortune of serving as the president of our buying group that we belong to, our trade association. the Lincoln Community Playhouse, and all of these things were made possible by me being really good at one thing, and that's being in the rental purchase business and putting all of my time and energy in that. You know, and later in life, we've gotten into the VRBO business, Airbnb business. We have 6 lodges down in Branson that we rent. Just another form of renting. You know, I mean, it's not rent to own, but it's leasing.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yes, and so that's been really successful for us later in life. Where again, I'm just focusing on property, but still, my bread and butter and the thing I do the best is being in the rental purchase business and improving the quality of life by getting nice stuff into nice people's homes.
Absolutely. Did you hear that, people? Real estate. Come on. Real estate is where it's at. So, and if you're not in real estate, message me, roberts-roberts.com. Tell us what strategies you use to, I mean, you got a lot of things going on. You're a busy guy. You got a lot of locations, obviously. How do you stay organized? How do you manage your time? I mean, you got a lot of, plates that you're spinning and a lot of irons in the fire.
If you want people to take responsibility, first you have to give it to them. People so often say, I'm disappointed that this employee or that employee, this staff member didn't take the responsibility I expect them to take. And then when we re-examine it, what really happened is you never gave them that responsibility. They say, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know that was part of my job and that I could make that decision. And so you've got to clearly define the roles, the actual positions. You have to define the job description of what they're supposed to do, and then you have to be willing to empower them and accept that when you do empower them, they're going to make some mistakes. But that's okay. So did I. So does everybody. So let them make a few mistakes. They're not going to put you out of business with a few low-level mistakes, right? And if you have their job description and their roles defined, they can't make too big a mistake. But you've got to let them do their thing. And so what I do, because you're right, I especially as a young businessman, I felt like the lady that spins plates on the stick, and she's just running back and forth trying to keep them spinning before they fall off and crack. You know, and so being spread out too thin and not willing to delegate and give people the job that they need to get, mistake. And so, I have 4 district managers, 24 stores, and I have 27 store managers, because we have 3 of them that are called managers on assignment. So they have company car and they go from store to store and cover when there's a store manager on time off. And so there's still somebody that knows how to run that store that drives up and runs it. And so and my partner Frank and Natalie, who's my vice president, and then underneath them having associate store managers and senior assistant managers and assistant managers and account managers. They need to know, and delivery specialists, customer service representatives, they have to know what their responsibilities are and get those clearly defined, and let them know you can make a decision. And I know this is old hat, but people don't do it. When somebody comes to you and they're wanting you to make a decision for them, I won't. I look at them and say, well, what do you think we should do? And 9.9 times out of 10, they describe exactly what I would have told them to do. But instead of it being my idea, it's their idea. So be willing, and I'm not always right. Some of the greatest ideas in our company did not come from me. They came from fellow ACE family members who had a great idea. And don't steal those ideas from them and pretend they're yours. When you get up in front of the group and you tell about this new idea, make sure you give credit who it's due, who came up with this idea. And you empower somebody by telling the entire organization this is their idea, and everybody sends them an email or calls them up or slaps them on the back and says, nice job. Good thoughts on that. Way to go. What do you think they're going to do in the future? Come up with some more great ideas, right? And so empower them, and don't be afraid to turn loose of the reins and let them go. I'd rather ride a horse that I have to rein in for a little while than ride a horse that I have to kick all day in the afternoon when they're tired. I want somebody that's chomping at the bit and ready to go. Wants to do more than at this point they're qualified for. I can work with that person. Somebody where I have to be their sole motivation, probably not going to work. And in that case, don't be afraid to pull over the bus and say, here's a great stop for you. I don't think we're doing you any favors.
Right.
So let's let you go on and find something that fits you better. But those that are chomping at the bit, do not hold them back very long, or they'll go find somewhere else to run.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your, maybe a story that's behind the scenes that's, I mean, obviously your success precedes you. You're 24 locations, 25 coming up. What's your biggest success story that maybe nobody's heard behind the scenes?
Wow, that's a great question. I think the biggest success story that nobody's heard, or not as many as we should have told, the Better Business Bureau. Most rental purchase companies are not even members.
Right.
Because let's face it, most of our business is collections. We sell something one time, but most of our accounts are written up on a weekly basis.
Right.
And the most common number of weeks to own in our company is 91 weeks. So we got to sell that to them in a collection mode 90 more times, right? And so that's hard. That's hard to keep somebody satisfied 90 more times and never have an interaction that they weren't pleased with, particularly when you're trying to get paid, right? And so the way we conduct our business, the way we put clients first, the way we tell them nothing's off the table. If you've got a hardship, don't hide it. Tell us about it. We can help you. Nothing is out of the question. If you're willing to work with us, we'll work with you. And so we applied for, and I wasn't optimistic that we were going to get it, but we applied for in 2017 the Better Business Bureau Integrity Award, which is multi-states, and in our company, it's the largest category. We have more than 100 employees, and that's how the Better Business Bureau sees it. So we were up against car dealers and accounting firms with thousands of employees in some cases. But we presented our case, showed how we do our collections. They looked at our record with their own Better Business Bureau and saw that we had no unresolved complaints. And anytime we got a complaint, we responded right away. But we told our story, how we do our business. We talked about family, and we talked about love, and we talked about interacting and trust and respect and the friendship. And I'll be darned if we didn't win the 2017 Better Business Bureau Integrity Award in the highest category, 100 employees or more. And so there is I can feel my throat choking up. It's a real badge of honor.
That's huge.
It's displayed in our company headquarters, and it's something we talk about all the time. And tell our clients, we tell our staff, tell them we're Better Business Bureau Integrity Award winners. And that's because no unresolved complaints. We're not letting you walk away dissatisfied. Even if we have to lose money, that's not happening. And so that's a story I don't think we tell enough. Certainly not publicly. But that is a major accomplishment that I personally treasure and am just simply proud of. We won the Integrity Award. So that's it.
Well, and there's a lot of things that make East Rent to Own unique, I think. I mean, you got your free delivery, free repairs, no credit check, 120 days, same as cash. What do you think makes you different from the competition?
I think there's a couple things. The first one is we call it the Good News Exchange Program. So this is very peculiar to us, and our competition doesn't do it. If a client's needs change, or they're just not happy with what they got, they can turn it back in, and we will apply 100% of everything they've paid in rent towards any other product in the store. So if they're renting a washer and dryer and they move to an apartment where they can't hook up a washer and dryer, they can come and get a living room set or a gaming computer, and we'll just apply all of that money as if they had that all along. And they can finish the payments on that. So they never have to waste money and go away with something without something to show for their money. I think the second thing is if a client has a problem that they cannot, that's insurmountable, they've lost a job, or they've got a medical bill that's such a hardship that we can't get them through. It's going to be months and months and months before they're back on their feet. They can put their account on hold, send the merchandise back, and at any point the rest of their life they come back, get a product, not just the product they had, but just like any other product too, get any product in the store, and use that money. It just sits on hold. That's why we call it putting the account on hold. It sits there like in a little mini ACE savings account. They come in and say, well, I had $400 invested when I sent back the sectional. So we say, good, so we've got $400 to take off the price of any of these other products, and you'll pick up right where you left off. And so they pick something and we redeliver something, so that we are focused on making sure that every account ends up in ownership. That's the thing that's peculiar about us. Any kind of failure where they have to send it back, that's failure. That's not success. Losing somebody's business and not ending up with the client owning the product, bad. And all of us buy into that. We all know that our central mission is seeing that the client ends up with ownership. And when they can see that, when clients can see that that's real, that's not lip service. That's real. That we want them to go away with something to show for their money. It changes the way they see us, and it changes their want to do business with us, and makes it such that they don't consider going anywhere else.
Yeah, that's huge, and that's taking care of people right there. That's impressive. What about those business owners that want to grow their business? You talked about this at the beginning. You know, that maybe they got one location, 2 locations. They want to grow. They want to expand. They don't know how to get there. What advice would you have for that type of business?
Don't grow too fast. Grow fast in the beginning. You're going to have to borrow money in the beginning. No doubt about it. And don't be afraid of that. But know that with that borrowed money comes 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, whatever it takes to make that work. And I was blessed to have a wife that understood that and never complained at me when I was working 7 days a week. Now the stores are only open 6, but when I was a young businessman running them myself, we were open 7. And even on Sundays, I'd be out making deliveries at 7 and 8 o'clock at night, growing this business, because I had all this borrowed money and payments to make, right? And so don't be afraid of that in the beginning, but know when to pull the reins in and say, okay, I need to slow my expansion, and I need to pay off this debt, get this debt lowered, maybe even eliminated in some cases, so that my margins can increase, so I can grow exponentially faster in the future. A huge mistake is to just continue to grow on the same amount of borrowed money rather than retire some of that debt so those margins increase and it becomes easier to grow. So get it paid off as soon as you can, and once you do, don't go back. Grow on strength, grow on profit, set aside capital, and use that to grow. And that's what we're doing now. I mean, we only open a new store or start a new endeavor when we have the capital to do it. And so we never change those margins. They've been the same now for 20 plus years.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah, I'm taking notes in my brain as well. That's huge. What are you most proud of?
In life? Yeah. Having 2 wonderful kids that have good jobs and are good human beings. Most proud of that, no question about it. Having taken the time to love them and raise them and be there for all the things, despite the fact that I was working 7 days a week and sometimes 12 hours a day. If there was that football game we were talking about, or the cross country, or the track, or the play at school, or the Christmas program, I never missed them. Never missed them. And so I would take off, and everybody knew, look, the most important, putting my priorities, and I make those clear to people from the very beginning. When they hire on, I let them know, these are my priorities in life. God's number 1. My religion, my faith, my relationship with my Lord. Number 1. Number 2 is my family. Making sure that they have what they need and they see that they're loved and that they get my time. Because that's what not only family but also employees, what they want most is your time. Sometimes I go into a store and somebody, I'll be there 4 or 5 hours and they go, oh, you're leaving already? And to me, I've spent a lot of time there, but to them, they want me to stay longer. And all they're saying is, I want more of your time. I want to spend more time with you. I want to soak up what you're preaching, what you're teaching, right? And so I was able to do that with my kids, is give them my time. And so my second priority is that family, and then the third priority is my business. But those second two sort of intertwined. You can't raise a family without your business, right? And so your family needs to support that business, right? But the business also needs to understand I have a family, and so my obligation is to them. And so I have to take care of them. And as a businessman, you have to practice what you preach. And so when somebody needs that time off for their own family, you better give it to them, because that's the most important thing to them, more important than your business. And if you expect them to flip those priorities, you're making a mistake.
Definitely. As you were building Ace, did you have any low points? Were there any times where you weren't sure if you guys were going to make it? There were challenges you had?
There's a day, I'll tell you the day. I mean, we were struggling to make payments. We were struggling to pay ourselves. And I had hired Frank just shortly before that, and I said, Frank, we are going to have a garage sale to pay some bills here. We're going to have to sell off some product because we got payments to make. And so we're just going to have to do this. I've got no other option. So we took some of our pre-rented property and some of our new property and sold it off cheap to get those payments made. But we never defaulted on a payment, never late on a payment, never allowed that to happen. But there was a point there where I went, is this working out? Am I okay here? You know, and I mean, worrying about it. I'm not going to remember walking the floor at night, worrying about those payments, worrying about being $2 million in debt, and going, oh, this weight on me is almost more than I thought I would ever have to bear. But it was that weight that kept me going. And when I wanted to take some time off and just goof off, it was that weight that said, no, you've got to push on. And so it was the early investment in that, in those worries, in those almost overbearing weight that pushed me on to the point where I'm at now, where it's super fun. And now I enjoy the business more than ever because of that early investment. So young business people, whether young or old, new business people, make the investment now. Know that it's going to take more time than you expect. Know that the commitment is larger than you ever thought it would be. But do it, and then watch what happens a decade or two later, how it comes back to you 10 times over. And the satisfaction from seeing the success in your business and the people that grew along with you. Before I came here, I saw that I've got a 25-year employee getting his anniversary gift this year. And so knowing that you've got 25 and 26 and 28 and 30-year employees, and that they've been with you through it all, through thick and thin, is so rewarding and such a great feeling to see those people and know that they've been there with you through those fights. Man, is that super rewarding. So don't give up. It's okay to be frightened, but it's not okay to give up. Fight through it and you'll make it.
So back to that story, you had your flash sale. The writing was on the wall. We didn't know where we were going. How did that turn out? How did you get through that?
So we got the money. I mean, we raised several $1,000s to make those payments, and it just started getting better from there. In our business, we have to invest in the merchandise up front. We pay in full for the merchandise and get very little down. You know, get a week down. So we might have a $600 product that we take $20 down. So we're upside down $580 the minute that product's delivered. And so it takes a long time to get get back whole with that product and start getting into positive cash flow, and even longer to get into profit. So it's an investment business. You have to be patient. And so what happened then is, after we got out of a little bit of a financial crunch, which was actually caused by growing really fast, putting a lot of accounts on the books where we paid for them up front. Those we started catching back up, and the payments started exceeding the cost of the merchandise, and so I mean, past that, there's been a few times where our cash flow wasn't, or reserve money wasn't quite where I like to have it, but very rare after that. So know that if you stay the course and you've got a good business plan, it'll all work out.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Well, you probably forgot more about TV and appliances than most of us. So, you know, I guess, I mean, you've given a lot of great business advice. What about, let's say, a business owner who, he's just at it, you know, he's things are upside down, he's seeing that, you know, he's in the red, you know, how does he get through that? I mean, every case is different, sure, but what encouragement can you give to the business owner that's, he just doesn't know if he can keep going?
That business owner needs to be honest with himself and figure out what's wrong, because no business gets in that spot without something being wrong.
Right.
And be willing to point the thumb, because there's something wrong with the program. And so you've got to dive into it and tear everything down, and get people surrounding you and your organization. Even if there's only 2 or 3, get those 2 or 3 and get in a room and figure it out, because there is a reason they're in that spot, and it's not accidental. And so you've got to be willing to take the deepest dive ever and potentially own all those mistakes, and be willing to admit those mistakes and then chart a new course. And know what you're going to do, what you're going to change in order to get out of that spot. And that's hard. Type A personalities, which are most of us in business, right? I mean, entrepreneurs, you've got to have some courage. You've got to have some personality to want to run your own business. It's not for everybody, right? I mean, everybody thinks they want to run the business and own a business till they do. And then they realize it's just not that easy. But everybody that's got a problem, they're in the red, there's some mistakes that are underneath there that they got to dive in and own them and fix them. Be willing to change the very core of what they're doing. Maybe even their business philosophies. You know, the job description that they've written for themselves, or what their mission is. That may need to change, and you may need to just toss it all and say, that's not working. We're going to do it like this. And then when you do, believe in it. Believe that that's going to work. Go hard at it, knowing that you found the solution. You know, and be 10 foot tall and bulletproof. We had a problem, we fixed it, and here's where we're going.
You talked about your faith. You talked about how important that is to you. And I remember when I was selling out of my car, knocking on doors, I just kept getting no after no after no, cold calling. And I prayed. I mean, it was like, God, I need some assurance here. I need some strength. Show me the right path. And I remember, that's a true story. I'll never forget this. I was banging my head against the wall, and I just heard this voice: treat people. Let's say you're in that chair on the other side. Treat them how you want to be treated. You know. And so I did that. I started to just, you know what? I'm just going to go spread sunshine today. I'm just going to go love people. You know, to talk about what you're saying. I'm just going to go love people and spread sunshine. And it changed everything. That was the day when I closed one of my biggest accounts ever. So tell us about what faith means to you, how that changes your business, how that plays a role in your success.
Faith, for me, is the very thing that sets me free. Precisely what you're describing. I offer prayers all the time, prayers of thanksgiving, prayers of help, prayers of needs. But I know that I'll get answers to those prayers. It may not always be the ones that I want, but God will be a lamp and light my way. And so that gives me the confidence to just allow that to occur. There was a time I like to do theater. That's one of my hobbies. And I got the chance to be in a show called The Sound of Music. And something like 10 or 11 days before the show opened, the guy that was going to play Captain Von Trapp left the show. And I was playing a lesser role, and they asked me if I would move up to the role of Captain Von Trapp. So I had to learn all the lines, all the songs, all the blocking, right, all the dancing in 11 days and be ready to open on a Friday night. And the opening night, I remember right before I came on stage, the curtain fell from one scene, and then it would rise. I'd come out on stage in the home Von Trapp, and the curtain would rise. But I was back behind the backdrop there, had my head up against it, and I was praying, Lord, just be a lamp and light my way. I turn my performance over to you tonight, and just give me the strength, give me the courage to do my very best. And if you'll just be that lamp for me and know that you're there for me. I know that I can do this, Lord, but I can't do it alone. I need you. So be there for me. And one of the little kids that was playing, one of the Von Trapp kids, came up as I had my head against that backdrop and said, Lynn, are you okay? And I was praying, and so it took me a minute to finish my prayer, and then I looked down at her and I said, yeah, I'm fine. Why? She said, well, it looked like you were really leaning up against that. And I said, yeah, I was praying. She said, oh, for what? And I said, well, for God to give me strength, for God to give me courage, for him to be a lamp and light my way. And she looked at me and went, oh, that's so cool. And she walked away, and I thought, okay, there's God working through me, unintended, to be an evangelist for this little kid, to see here is this man that isn't, I mean, on the surface he's 10 foot tall and bulletproof, but inside he's got insecurity too. And he needs God to pave over those insecurities. He needs him to make him whole where he's not whole on his own. And that kid got a chance to see that. And so that's what God does for me when I'm not sure what to do, or when I've made an error that I'm embarrassed about, you know, a poor decision that I do differently, or I treated somebody poorly, you know, and even though I may have already apologized to them, or maybe I haven't, I pray so I can find out what else do I need to do? What am I missing? And that's a prayer I pray often. Be a lamp and light my way. You know, I'm the lost sheep. You know, let go of the herd for a minute and come help me, would you please? But then don't be afraid to pray. Don't make the mistake of just praying for needs. Pray for thanksgiving. When God does help you through that opening night and you get backstage and, you know, the applause and you've taken your bows. And so the next thing I did is went in the green room and gave prayers for thanksgiving, saying, you did it, Lord. You did it. It was you and me together. We did it.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Wow, that's phenomenal. So I know you guys were an essential business during COVID, but how did COVID affect ACE, and how did you get through it?
Yeah, so it affected us in two ways. People had needs, and that's the part I didn't see coming. When COVID hit, the first thing I told my entire staff is, we are closing no accounts due to non-payment. Nobody sends anything back due to COVID. If we have to suspend their rent and let them keep it out there and just wait till they get back to working again, that's what we're going to do. And we don't have to fill out, have them sign anything, because we don't want them having to come into the store. Just tell us what their hardship is. We'll just believe them. We'll do it over the phone, and we're going to move their account forward. Nobody's sending anything back. And I told Natalie and Frank, this may be it. We may be going into every cash reserve we've ever needed. And we may be putting personal money in to keep this thing afloat, because I don't know how long this thing is going to be. I'd never been through a pandemic before. None of us has, right? So I didn't know what this, but I was prepared for it, and I was going to put every last penny I had into this thing to make sure that we didn't lose any clients because of COVID. But what I didn't see coming is, especially when the government started making payments to people and so on, that because they couldn't go to the bar, they couldn't buy entertainment, they couldn't go on a vacation, right? They took that money and they invested it in durable household goods. So sales shortly after COVID began were great. Payments really stunk. I mean, we forgave millions of dollars in payments and lost out on that. And so what we saw is, you know, this followed by this. You know, so once we came out of COVID and things started opening, people were getting back to business and so on. All that product that we put out, plus payments started happening again, we came out on the backside of COVID better than ever. And so many of our clients had some disposable money that they didn't know they had coming. Right? And so they needed some stuff. They needed a bedroom set. They needed a new bed. They needed a new refrigerator. And because their friends were there and helped them through all that, we were there for them. I like to tell the story on 9/11 when the towers fell. If you remember, I remember vividly going home and watching TV all night. And the TV screens were flashing to churches. And we found people on their knees in their churches praying, right? Because this evil was something they could not understand, right? wow, how could anyone fly a plane into a building and kill themselves and kill all those innocent people? How could that be something that any deity would tell me to do? It's just beyond my possible understanding and every other human. And so I was troubled by it, and myself was going, wow, that's an evil I can't understand. So people flock to their churches. Well, shoot, the churches weren't open during COVID. So now where do people go? And believe it or not, people went to their local Ace Rent-to-Own store, either by phone or by text or email or, and placed orders for things that they were needing and thanked us for being there while everybody else was shut down. We were there and we were able to help them get what they needed or get service or exchange out their freezer that failed. Remember that people were telling you got to have 2 weeks worth of food at the minimum in your home. And our clients are going, 2 weeks worth of food? I need a huge freezer for that. So they called us up and we delivered the huge freezer and helped them get 2 weeks worth of food in their home. So it was an interesting dynamic. We kind of became the place people could go for sanity. You know, for somebody that was still there to be their friend, still there to listen, still there when they knew they weren't making their payments. And instead of saying, no, you got to make your payment, we understood and said, I understand you're not working. You can't make a payment if you're not working. We're going to help you through this. And so we became an emotional help to some people that were struggling in isolation during COVID. And that part I never saw coming. And I think that's developed a bond between our clients and our staff that is still there. You know, that we will always reap the benefits of how we got through it together and got out of COVID in one piece.
That's tremendous. Yeah. That's helping your fellow man.
Yeah.
That's tremendous. Well, I got a few other things, but let me throw a curveball at you.
Okay.
Well, I got 2 curveballs.
Fire away.
But, you know, we live in a challenging world these days, and there's a lot of problems out there. Is there anything you can say to speak to that or towards, you know, where we're going, what you think we should do about it as a leader in the business community, especially in Nebraska?
Yes. It is my opinion that most of the problems that we have in society, in the United States in general, are not political in nature. People like to blame politics, but politics is just a byproduct of, in my opinion, the lack of care and concern for one's family. Most of the problems we have in society are not accidental. And they're really not societal problems at all, but they're parental problems. And so, ladies and gentlemen, moms and dads, give the time to your kids and invest in them, in their schooling, in their worship, in their extracurricular activities. Encourage them. Don't force them into doing things they don't want to do, but encourage them into things that they do want to do. And see that they get the time, the attention, the love, and that's not just, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. You've got to push them, like I talked about doing with my own children. Push them to be all they can be. Have high expectations for them, and give them the time they need. And if we can do that as a society, if we moms and dads will commit that when we make the decision to bring another human being into this world, that we're going to make that, other than our faith, we're going to make that our number one priority. All of these other problems that we have, all of these societal problems, all of the problems with guns and drugs and so on, are managed when we just take care of our children. And I encourage all of you, invest in your kids. Love them, push them, teach them, hug them, give them the time. That's what they want. They need to see that you give them your time and that they are your top priority. They are your number one focus. And so as business leaders, Your employees need to see that you're that man, that you're that woman. They need to see who you are, because they will follow somebody like that. They will aspire to be you. But if you're just about the money and that new car and that new house and this fancy suit and these $300 shoes, nobody aspires to follow that person. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have nice things, but make that not your focus. Make your focus, should you choose to raise a family, make it be your family and those kids, and leave a legacy to society, to the world, that you can live on through them and through their good works, through them caring enough to do the same for their family.
Wow. Now I'm starting to get choked up, because this goes back to history. This is a man who was raised by Gene Leach. And again, for those of you in the audience who didn't know Gene Leach, this is the Gene Leach coming out right here. This is amazing. And Gene was everybody's number one cheerleader. I mean, I remember in my life, there was a point where I was in Nashville, Tennessee, pursuing my dream as a musician. I was going to be the next Garth Brooks. You know, some people were going to be the next Michael Jordan. I was going to be the next Garth Brooks. Well, anyway, I had fell on hard times in Nashville, Tennessee, and your dad called me. I'll never forget it. He called me when I was down there and just encouraged me, and he was there for me, and that time, that attention, that effort that he made was always there throughout my childhood. It was just amazing, and so it's really cool, and it touches me to see that coming out of you, because I see
even after he passed away, I continued to hear those stories. From his lawyer saying that with the check he sent a well done card and thanked him for his work, and he said that never happened. Everybody else just sent a check, right, and paid me for my services. But your dad not only sent a check, but basically a thank you and a well done card saying you did a great job for me and I'm grateful. And that was him, and that's what I'm talking about. You know, build others. Don't focus on yourself. Focus on others and watch what that'll do for yourself. And that's what he did. And many, many times people have asked me, why do you think you've had success? What sets you aside? What is it about you that's different than others? And I said, the thing that's different about me is that I had such incredible love from my mom and dad. That's it. My mom was incredible in different ways. I mean, she was the nurturing, loving, always there for you. You know, I mean, even as I became an older adult, she'd want to talk for 2 hours on the phone and celebrate every little accomplishment. And there was nothing more important in her world. And my dad pushing me and encouraging me, and came to when I was the president of our trade association, APRO, he came to the convention on my farewell after I had served my term. And I remember him coming up to me afterwards and giving me a huge hug. And see now, he said, "I am busting my buttons. I'm so proud of you." So that's what set me aside. That's my superpower. That's what made me so successful, is having such a great benefit of having my mom and my dad love me so much.
That's amazing. That's huge. So love the people around you. I think that's the theme for today. Well, what a great time this has been with you.
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it, and we're so grateful to have Lynn with us today on the Adam Roberts What's Your Story podcast. Please subscribe, download, save it to your phone. We're going to be on Apple Podcasts, of course, as well as Spotify, YouTube, everywhere that they have podcasts. We're excited about it, and thanks again for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah. Thanks again for joining us on the Adam Roberts podcast, What's Your Story? And don't forget to click and subscribe. Ring that bell down below so you get notified right away of every single podcast and all the content right away. Can't wait to see you next time. So excited you could join us, and we'll see you on the next podcast.